Hello, everybody. A quick note before the podcast begins in full. Just to let you know that this was recorded on the road, so to speak. I'm not using my usual setup, and as a result, I usually record the podcast on my specific home system. Obviously, that was not possible this time, and for some reason, Marshall's system, who recorded the podcast using the TeamTalk function to record to disk, did something very strange with the levels and resulted in Johnny being rather quiet and me being rather loud. We have done our very best to alter this and reduce clipping for me and boost Johnny's volume. If you do notice some audio issues that are not usually present on the podcast, that is why. We apologise. It's perfectly listenable. As I say, we've done our best. This is not using the usual setup, but I hope you appreciate us getting a podcast out to you, despite us both being very busy. So enjoy the podcast. Alright, hello everyone, welcome along to the BVI Virtual podcast. As always, I'm here with Johnny. It's been a little while since we recorded a podcast. I don't know the exact date, but two reasons. The usual, we've been very busy. I'm down here at Oxford University studying now, and I'm sure Johnny's been busy with work too.
Yeah, me and you both are doing the college thing, and of course on top of work, there's just been no time, guys. Just no time.
Yeah, and the second reason really, there's not been a hell of a lot going on. I mean, there's been a couple of little updates here and there, but nothing really that warrants our usual podcast. I mean, we try and make them, anywhere between 20 minutes to an hour, so doing a 5-minute podcast just to say, here's a little tiny bit of news is not really our kind of style. But, hopefully we'll get another one in. I'm sure we will, at least one more before the end of the year. We also like to do interviews, but again, like having the TFM devs on and things, again, it's not really worth it unless there's a massive kind of leap forward or something, over a period of time. Kind of just having them on to talk about one thing for 5 minutes there's no point.
Someone had asked, had sent me an email, and it was probably like a month ago, maybe a month and a half, I don't know, but it's like, what's going on with the developers of TFM. Well, here's the thing, guys. We're not going to just bring them on, like Declan just said. We're not bringing them on for an interview every other podcast. We're just not going to do that because, like you said, Declan, it'd be kind of silly to do that. So, if they do something big, sure, let's bring them on. Let's interview them. But
yeah, people know where they can follow TFM. They have a Discord, they have a website, they have a GitHub where you can look at what's being posted. And we all have the WhatsApp groups and the mailing list. So if you really want to check it out, you can easily go and follow it. In terms of TFM, so they're working on streamlining and updating the PMDG. Obviously, the 737 and 777 are the main supported products. The 73 is the most finished, but by nowhere means completely finished. The 777 is the second, and then the 747. I've definitely heard some people say, the 747 is not really flyable. That's a load of rubbish. It's definitely flyable. In fact, a good friend of mine recently flew it for across the pond on vatsim with full ATC. So if you can fly that, you can do anything you want with it. But it is the least supported. So, for example, the 777 and the 737 have the MCP boxes, whereas the 74 does not, and doesn't have a lot of the panels either. So, but they're all flyable, so to speak.
Yeah, you still got TFM where you can use TFM to do some of the controls regardless, like your speed and altitude and stuff like that. I've played around with the 47 a little bit. Didn't really do like a long flight, but I did like from, I think it was Louisville to Miami or something, and it went, it went pretty good. I mean, yeah, you don't have all that other stuff, but yeah, whoever says it's not flyable, yeah, you're wrong. Unfortunately, that's not correct.
Yeah, and then the second thing that we know of TFM is that Andy and Jason have been talking about Navigraph. So we know a good while ago, I think over a year ago, Navigraph were contacted. At the time, TFM was really looking to put in a tramp-like flight planner and autopilot. And at the time, Navigraph said, come back to us when you have something concrete. Well, I guess TFM's gone back to them now, and given the PMDG stuff and the fact that we have some ideas, they are in the queue now for Navigraph support. So that means they'll get a Navigraph database. I believe it will come with 19, well, I forget the exact cycle, but 19 or was it 20? It might be 20. But I think it was like a year old. Yeah, 20, that sounds right. 20 something. It was about a year old cycle, essentially, but you'll be able to update it from the manager. And that means two things. It means, one, that hopefully we can get some kind of chart explorer, kind of like you have in Tramp, where you can pull up the SID and star and view the text of what you're supposed to be doing. But in TFM, which will mean if you're flying PMDG, you don't need to use Tramp for that function. And also maybe that in the future we'll have a Tramp-like autopilot. Who knows about that though? But as always, I believe the wish of the TFM devs is that people continue to by all means use the WhatsApp groups and the emailing list for discussion of features, but to put specific feature requests and bugs in the GitHub, just to keep things on track.
Well, and the nice thing is, because right now, I don't know, I think you might do the same thing, Declan, you and Marshall. I still will use FS Tramp to look at that, so that I can see specifically with some of the waypoints when I'm coming in for my approach and stuff. I'll use FS Tramp to look at what exactly is going on, and I think you do that too, don't you? Don't you use FS Tramp so you can see the kind of look at the stars and stuff?
I do, yeah. I load my flight plan in. I kind of call it FS Charts now instead of FS Tramp, because that's really all I tend to use it for in the PMDG. Just load my flight plan in and put the SID and star in, because you can read the restrictions in the FMS of the PMDG for sure, but sometimes it's just nice to see it laid out in a very plain textual way, where it literally says, you will do this and you will do this, and it just can refresh your memory. Instead of having to read through pages.
You don't start your FS Tramp though, like how when we used to do flights, you'd have to go down and do the M1 and check it and autopilot check it. You don't got to do all that.
No, not in the PMDG. Yeah, I completely use PMDG systems. FS Tramp is just to read the SID and star data.
Read, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because sometimes you'll get them and you got to. If you can't read it, you're kind of playing a guessing game on what's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, the idea is to get away from Tramp eventually, and the whole Navigraph thing. I think when I spoke to Andy, he said that now they've accepted it, and there's like 12 or 13 other people ahead or something from what I was told. Whatever that means, I don't know, because I don't know how that works. If it means there's gonna be like this long waiting list or what it is, how that goes. I don't know. So
yeah,
but it's still exciting.
It's a very difficult one, and hopefully TFM can someday come up with something like Tramp, because Tramp is actually a very complex bit of software. It can do a hell of a lot. It's just not laid out in a very friendly way, and we all know the exploits of the developer. And it is difficult because some people will, we don't want to be showing off Tramp, put it that way. We don't want anyone to kind of be showing Tramp as what we can do as a community. Everyone, I think pretty much everyone, for their kind of, well, let's say the premier, flyers, the people who are going to go on vatsim and do an event, would usually take a PMDG, over Tramp. You might use Tramp every now and again for sure, but it is a complex bit of software, so it will take time for anything to come in TFM, anything like Tramp, and Tramp is still quite expensive. I've heard some people say, oh, PMDG it's difficult for some people to get, and that is very true, but Tramp, I mean, I think it's about 30 something euros just for 1 year. If you keep paying that continuously, you end up paying probably just as much as you would for a PMDG, which yes is expensive in the short term, but you're going to get a hell of a lot more out of it in the long term. So if I would encourage anyone, if your budget allows, don't even bother with Tramp. Just go straight to PMDG. You will have a far better experience.
Yeah, and this is what I tell people as well, Declan, is that when you go get obviously I tell people start out with the 737, learn that, work your way up. But even if you just want to pay for the base package, you got to have that. Buy that, because that's going to give you at least the 737, and you'll be able to fly. You can get all the other ones, which I did eventually. I've got all of them.
Yeah, in time.
That gives you the 600, 700, the 739 extended range and all that. But if anything, just get the base pack.
Yeah, if you buy the base pack, you get the 8 and the 9, and the 738 is the most popular aircraft in the world in the skies. So if you buy just that, you've got the most popular aircraft in your hangar. I mean, so many airlines fly. It's the classic aircraft. Everyone flies the 737 pretty much. It opens up so many routes to you.
Yeah, and I fly the 738 a lot, like over top of the even the 739. Like I just go in and grab the 738 because I like how it flies. I like the way it handles. There's just a lot of stuff I really like about it. But yeah, because it can get expensive, and we get that. If you get all of it, what did we figure that was over?
Oh, it's got to be $500, maybe perhaps a bit more if you buy the whole PMDG 73, 74, and triple. I mean, it's expensive, so don't no one feel pressure to do that. But you do get what you pay for. Simple as that. If you use Tramp and get freeware, well, it's freeware. It's nowhere near a PMDG experience.
Yeah, it'd be nice with Tramp, not Tramp, but TFM, when we can look at the stars and the waypoints, like we're doing now with Tramp when we fly. We'll use that for just so we can look at it and see what's going on for as far as where things are. Well, now that Navigraph is stepping in, we're eventually going to be able to do that, where we can look at stuff like that and know exactly what's going on. So I say get the 737, grab the base package, and as you learn it and you want to move up to the next one later on, then buy them, little here, little there. I mean,
yeah, and I mean, if I may, I had a go with the 7.3 at one time. I absolutely loved it. Got home, my system couldn't do what I wanted it to do, so I broke down and got a new system. Got the 7.3, and I absolutely love it now. I'll take it any day over flying Tramp, unless I want my Dassault Falcon or my Airbuses.
Yeah, definitely.
That's me. I think that's all of us. We all now go to the 737 because one, it's fun to fly, and number two, it's most dependable. Most dependable.
Yeah. I mean, Tramp has so many quirks, doesn't it? We all know that it was a bit of a crapshoot when you flew the thing, whether you were going to make it. It always had some strange things that it would do. Whether it be strange nosedives or just not following the vertical path. But the PMDG, you can guarantee it will every time. You can leave it to follow the vertical path, the VNav or the LNav, and you can trust that it will follow it properly.
That it will do that, yeah. When you look at the CDU, it's going to do exactly what you put in that CDU. It will do exactly what you put in there.
Yeah, so in terms of TFM, I reckon that's about it. It's been great to see them get some more recognition. I know there's been a couple of articles published, and I believe they've been at a couple more wide gaming conferences, not just for Flight Sim. So that's been really good, and obviously as always we can't wait to see them continue to move forward with PMDG and possibly other projects. And we've talked about before where you can continue to find out about that. So the next thing I'll briefly touch on is, as usual, BVI Virtual. Still going. It's continuing to fly. We've just recently been expanding our fleet continuously. We have a whole lot of PMDG friendly aircraft. I think today we nearly have almost like 10 737 800s. It's just the 800 because we have them all around the world in our different fleets, and so that is obviously continuing. The main point here is that well, a couple of things. I first want to just say, if you are a new pilot, there's nothing wrong with coming to BVI Virtual. We do have a training set of flights that you have to do, which is 2 flights. But if you are completely new, it might be a good idea to just spend a bit of time learning before you join any airline, because BVI Virtual and really no FS airline, it's not like a video conferencing service. We can't hold your hand and let you know exactly what to do from A to B. So it's kind of expected that when you join something like BVI, you have a base level understanding of how to get a flight from A to B. It's not saying you fly on vatsim and you do all this and that, but just that you know how to do a flight from A to B. And the training flights are just there to make sure that you know how to do that.
Yeah, because in the training flights, if you mess up, it's not going to reflect on, like, I don't think
it doesn't damage the airline.
Here.
Yeah.
Right. So you can do that over and over.
It might damage the training aircraft, but those aircraft are in a separate fleet, and we have kind of a rule that we know that those aircraft in the training fleet might get damaged by a pilot who doesn't really know what they're doing. That's just we know that, and we will repair them. But if you crash, for example, which obviously you really shouldn't submit the flight, so please don't. That is in the policy. Read the policy. But if the worst would happen, and a really new pilot just had no clue, it wouldn't damage the airline's reputation and things like that. But go ahead.
I was just gonna say the thing is we're not going to be on top of you, screaming at you because you messed up, especially when we know you went and did a training flight, right? You're doing what we're telling you to do, so we're not going to be like, oh, how dare you do that? You're out, right? So that's the other thing to remember.
Yeah. We'd much rather you make some mistakes in the training flight. We correct them, you redo the flights, and then you get through. Because when you're past the training flight, there's no stops. Although, again, read the policy. It explains everything. Don't submit it if you have an issue. But there's no stops. And obviously, we have had people smash up planes that are not training aircraft just by their own incompetence. That's where it costs, and that's where it will be frustrating, because it's pretty obvious that, well, you don't submit it.
Yes. So when you load the FS Airlines, that's going to record your flight. When you touch down, or if you crash, or you do touch down, but it's a horrible landing, just close it. Just close it.
Yeah, Alt F4. That's all you got to do.
Just Alt F4. And there you go.
And that flight will be there, so you can do it again all over again.
Yeah. And then you don't even damage the airline. It doesn't even damage the aircraft. It's
Yeah.
So why people hit submit?
Beyond me.
Especially the ones that know better. The ones that know better. That is beyond me. I can't figure out why that, like, this isn't hard to figure out. Just don't submit it.
So yeah, BVI has an event coming up basically at Christmas. We try and do an event every few months, and the next one is the Christmas event. So we'll all be up on the team talk, having a chat. We'll mostly be flying along on vatsim, but there's no requirement to. Again, if you're not comfortable, just fly it offline. But basically, there is going to be a form which is in all the groups, is on the mailing list, and we can put in the description of the podcast, where you just need to go fill out if you want to fly. Don't fill it out if you can't fly, but fill it out if you want to join with the date that you want to join. So there's 3 dates across December. On different days of the weekend that it could be. So it's basically just choosing the date, and then the one that gets the most votes for people who are able to attend on that day will get chosen. And then also where we're going to fly. So there's different places. It could be a long haul from Heathrow to New York. If that gets chosen, it could also be a short haul from down to Finland, for Lapland, down where Santa Claus is, as a kind of Christmas kind of fun mess around flight. So yeah, go vote on that if you think you can join, and there will be some prizes on the day. That I'm planning to put on, probably just a few sim market vouchers, and it'll just be a random. It won't be, who's flown the best. It'll probably just be, if you fly, then I'll put you in the draw, and we'll draw, a couple of people out, maybe 2 or so, to win a couple of sim market vouchers. So yeah, just some general stuff, yeah, should be a lot of fun. Mm-hmm.
Somebody was asking too, and I never did answer this. I didn't even reply to them because it's something that when you guys ask a question, I'd rather you email it to the podcast email instead of the personal email. However that got about, I don't know, but that way we can discuss it when you have questions that is about us making choices. And the question was, Declan, about if we could ever do a live stream Q&A on some of the some of the flying stuff. And I mean, I don't see why not, but I can't tell you when that would be. Our schedules are absolutely crazy right now, for sure. I don't think it'd be this year that we would do that, but I don't know. What do you guys think with the live stream Q&A type of live stream where they can chat with us through like you would load your YouTube, Declan, and we can just load a few live stream platforms and let them ask questions. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely would be a good idea. I think, obviously we've got to look at the time zones, and try and make it the most friendly for everyone, so that a lot of more people can join depending on their time zone. I will definitely say, if you have questions, as long as it's not, a list as long as someone's arm of questions, then submit them to the email. If you join any of the groups, whether it be the WhatsApp, the mailing list, the whatever, there's generally people around to help. I mean, of course, there's always kind of debate. I mean, if you come on and say, what's the best add-ons for this, you might get mixed responses, because everyone has different preferences. But it's all good competition for the more add-ons. So yeah, I would say definitely it's something we could consider, and in the meantime, people just keep sending questions to all those places. It's not just the podcast as well, the community's here.
Yeah, exactly. There's people here that can help without, like you said, you can email it. But we do the live stream, that's fine, but it's not going to be a tutorial session. I do want to make that clear, that we're not going to stick with one person's question for 20 minutes. If it's a simple, how do I do this? We're going to give you kind of a summary of what you need to do to try to figure out, to complete whatever question you might have. But it's just not going to be, we're going to focus on one person for 20 minutes, because it would take forever to go through a live stream like that. So keep that in mind too, that we're not going to do like hands-on tutorials while we're doing a live stream. At least I don't want to do that.
No.
That would take forever.
And this is why I don't tend to do video tutorial. A lot of people always ask me, when I'm on a stream or whatever, can you do a video tutorial for this? And I don't like doing video tutorials because they always get out of date. You can make a tutorial and 2 months down the line, it's incorrect. And you can't go back and edit a YouTube video and change it. You would have to make a whole new tutorial video. So I generally much prefer either, if I can, answer people's questions in writing or something like that, or in a voice message, for example, briefly, or this is why we have like BVIPilots.net, where there is a tutorial for the PMDG in writing that is being worked on, so that it can be edited and changed constantly with the new updates.
Yeah, because I mean, and there's all kinds of stuff online, guys. Like,
yeah.
You got to remember something too. Yes, we are visually impaired and we're flying these planes, but the PMDG, we can fly it just like everybody else. And generally, you can go and watch a sighted person, a sighted pilot fly that and give some directions, and you can follow that. So you're not just stuck in one spot, trying to find an answer.
All right, the next thing on the list is just to touch briefly on vatsim. Yeah, I think there's a bit of a perception in the community that certain people guard vatsim very carefully, and that you can't go on vatsim for fun, and also kind of linked to BVI Virtual. Some people seem to think, oh, if I join BVI Virtual, they're going to be up my ass for this and that. And I'm not going to go and name people, but I think certain people have perhaps thrown their toys out of the pram a little bit because they're not happy. And I said this on Twitter the other day with the fact that that they've been called out for several things. None of us are perfect, and I have, I think, over 1,000 hours on vatsim. I know people who have could probably get on for 2,000, maybe more, which is just ridiculous for a virtual plane. It's crazy, and even they make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Maybe you miss a radio call, maybe you say something wrong. That's understandable. What we can't have as a community, and what vatsim themselves do not allow, is crashing on the network. Once is bad enough. If you continue to do it on a live stream, I'm sorry, but that is not quote unquote fun. That is just pretty ridiculous, to be honest. And I don't care whether people like me saying that or not. But I can tell you right now, those kind of things have gotten back to vatsim, and they know about them, and controllers know about them, and so I have made it clear to vatsim, to my contact in conflict resolution management, who I've worked with for a couple of years, back since when I contacted vatsim first to ask about repositioning to runways and things. So I've let him know that being visually impaired does not give you a free pass to mess around on the network, to crash, to just generally be incompetent and not be able to do some very basic things. And if a controller or anyone, a supervisor sees that, to step in and, kick that person, whether it be just for the day or if need be permanently. I think there's a feeling from vatsim that, they're blind, they don't know how to do certain things, it's not really their fault, we would just leave them leave them be. And I know, and many people who actually can fly on the vatsim network properly, no, that's not true. We now have PMDG, which is one of the most advanced aircraft. We can fly it properly. We know what we're doing. And everyone has an off day, and if something were to go wrong, then that's not always the pilot's fault. But continuously crashing should not be happening. And vatsim should know that we are perfectly able to fly, and if someone is not doing if someone is basically causing a disruption for pilots and controllers, then it's probably time to step in as a supervisor, even if they're blind, because that is a them problem. It's not a blindness problem.
Yeah, definitely. And here's the thing to think about is, for the longest time, we wanted to be able to do this. We wanted to be able to get on vatsim. We wanted to be able to fly with everybody else, and we wanted to be able to do exactly what everybody else does. Well, that's what we're doing now. That's what we're doing. The only thing we're not doing is taxiing. That's the only thing. Everything else, we're doing it. And we have the ability to do that. So, like Declan said, it's not a fact that, oh, well, my plane messed up, it won't do that. Look, we know you're flying a PMDG. Well, I mean, I guess you could get on with the freeware, but bottom line is there's no excuse for it. No excuse. It's not funny. It's not fun. It's not just messing around. And then next time we get that controller, they might have a negative attitude toward me or toward Declan because you crashed and were being irresponsible.
Precisely.
So have a little, people might get mad when I say it, but have a little respect for the community. If you're going to fly with us, respect us. And if you can't do that, then stay off of vatsim, because we're not babies. And I don't appreciate somebody expecting decided community to treat us like babies every time something happens when we shouldn't be doing it in the first place. I mean, that's bluntness has got to come out, folks, and that's blunt. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's just a little respect, and it's not even the crashing, but it really grates me the wrong way when some people say, "Oh, it's just fun." That really grates me the wrong way, and in fact, it was that caused me to contact vatsim. It wasn't even the crashing. That the crashing is just kind of silly and just bad flying. But when someone says, "Oh, it's just fun," no, it might be from your perspective, but that's a very selfish perspective, because for everybody else, you're disrupting other pilots, you're disrupting the controller, and most importantly, our very small community, you are knocking their reputation for six, because when they get on, a controller, might say, here you go, I'll give you an example, right? So people might have been saying, I know this has happened. Oh, I can't read a PDC. A PDC is a pre-departure clearance. It's basically when a controller sends you your IFR clearance in a private message to save time instead of saying it over the radio. Perfectly normal procedure. You read it with your screen reader. You can read it word by word, whatever you need to do. And some people have been saying, "Oh, I can't read PDCs." When I'm blind, which with no reason. And so now when some blind pilots are logging on at some airports, controllers are saying, "Oh, I'm guessing I can't send you a PDC," and they're like, "No, why can't I, no, just send me a PDC, it's absolutely fine." So this is how, just silliness gets packed to controllers, and they then assume blindness. And I mean, to be fair, they shouldn't assume that one blind person is the same as everybody else. But we're a small community. I mean, how many people are there on vatsim who are visually impaired? Probably I could count maybe 10, I don't know, maybe even less. There's not that many people who do it. A lot of blind pilots don't go on vatsim.
I can tell you that. There's not even 20 people probably.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, it does reflect back on us, even though it shouldn't. It will do, because they just assume, oh, look, they're blind, they're using the same procedures, when, you're not. So just consider that, and if it's too stressful, don't go on vatsim.
Yeah, just stay off. Because here's and I was telling Declan this earlier, and I'll make it kind of quick, but what if,
go ahead.
let's say that you are that person getting ready to crash, and you've got somebody that's a real pilot, and they're doing training with somebody, and they're at a taxiway, or they're at the middle way, they're getting ready to take off on a runway, and here you come and crash. Do you think because your damage is off, it's not going to affect them? Because it will. It will indeed affect them, because their stuff's going to be on, because they're training, they're practicing in real life, they're training, and that that they can get rating for that and graded for that, and not only that, but just looked at like, wow, what happened there? So you could be messing somebody else up too. It's not just about me and Declan and the others in BVI, but it's everybody around you. That one thing can affect everybody that whole day. So keep that in mind. I mean, seriously, come on. Or just don't get on vatsim. Listen to the live ATC or something while you're flying. But
yeah, absolutely. And I think people seem to assume that when they're being when we point these kind of things out, it's a direct a personal attack on them. And again, I won't go into details or names, but there are a few people who have thrown their toys out of the pram because they've been called out on this kind of stuff. Just know it's not any of us sitting here and pointing the finger at one individual and saying, "Hey, you're an idiot. What are you doing?" We obviously in the moment we might get frustrated with an individual, but ultimately it's more about the community, and it's more about the reputation of the community, because it only takes a few individuals to ruin that. So that's more what we're concerned about.
you gotta speak about it.
Yeah,
we got to. If we don't, then we're gonna watch this community crumble, and I'm just not gonna stand for that. No way.
Yeah, I mean, don't assume that we want to sit here and watch you fail on vatsim. We want to watch you succeed, and if you're having issues, there are methods out there to try and get help. But quitting airlines because certain people might have mentioned to you that you need probably to reconsider whether vatsim is right for you, or you need to sort of hone your skills a little bit.
Constructive criticism.
Yeah, exactly. And if you can't take constructive criticism, flight sim's probably the wrong hobby for you, because we're all here learning. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've been flying and someone said, have you tried this, or why don't you do that? It's not them, being. I could sit here and take it as them being rude or something, but they're not. They're just trying to help, and that's how you learn. Do you think you go to a flight school and it's all flowers and roses? No, you're gonna get probably some constructive criticism. That's how it works.
I mean, I've had controllers even message me and say, hey, is there anything I can do to to make it better for you?
Mm-hmm.
They don't want you. Just like if you go on there, and I've done it, and I'll say, I got to disconnect, I'm having trouble, and they've messaged me and said, we hate to see you leave, we're not telling you got to leave, can we help you? And I actually had a controller give me headings all the way to the runway, all the way, heading after heading, until I was touched down on the ground, and it took a good 10 minutes to do that, but they don't want to see you fail.
Yeah, none of us want to see you fail.
So this is about being constructive when we tell you things you're doing wrong, not criticizing you on a personal level, because frankly, I mean, me personally, I don't care what you do on the personal side of things. That's you, but when it affects us and our community and our reputation, you need constructive criticism if we're going to improve. Simple as that.
A couple of extra little things that I've got on the list here. So one is, and this only goes for this week of publishing the podcast, so it goes up until the 13th. There is a vatsim event, which I thought was pretty cool, going on, called World Flight, where they fly all the way around the world to various destinations, and this is people with real simulators. So there's one specifically called SimFest UK in the UK, obviously, with a 747 simulator in a garage, which is a full-sized flight deck of a 747 with a door and everything, taken from a real 747. Probably cost millions of pounds to create, but so they have about 20 pilots who fly this real 747 simulator around the world on vatsim, and you can join them from your home cockpit. If you go onto SimFest website, you'll be able to find their schedule, and it's all for charity. So if you go to SimFest UK's Twitch, they are currently, I think, at about £80,000 raising money, in this case for the Lullaby Trust, which is a charity in the UK helping families with who have lost children for various reasons, and I think every couple of years they switch it up and do it for a different charity. So yeah, obviously a great cause, and there's loads of teams all around the world who do it in their real world simulators that they've built, or I guess maybe that they've even rented. I don't know how it works. But
747, if you join it, you fly your own 747.
I mean, you can fly whatever you want. They just happen to fly a British Airways 747. But they fly all around the world, and I think the flights can range anywhere from maybe 1 hour to probably up to like 3 or 4 hours. So they do it in little short hops around the world. And it's full ATC, so if ever, I think it's, yes, up to Saturday the 13th, you fancy flying on vatsim, you can check their schedule and see where they're at, and jump on a flight with them.
What was the name of the website again, just so people hear that again?
It's called SimFest UK. Is the 747 team, SimFest UK. So yeah, it's pretty cool. They have a Twitch stream, and you can listen to them flying their real world.
Yeah, I need to find out.
74.
I bet they're on YouTube as well.
Possibly.
To watch how they did that project and putting that together.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's crazy. I think they got a whole load of 747s that have been scrapped and collected loads of parts and stuff over years and years. So it's a pretty awesome project. Obviously, with regard to vatsim events, Across the Pond just happened as well at the end of October. Obviously, I was busy, so could not partake, which is very unfortunate. But Gus, who's been on the podcast, I believe, before, maybe, I'm not sure, but we did Across the Pond chat last year when it happened. And yeah, so he successfully completed Across the Pond in the 747, which was obviously great. Another successful blind pilot doing the Across the Pond event. In terms of FSFO as well, I was going to touch on, there's not been any update, so we're still on the latest version. And the same goes for the freeware. There is a freeware FSFO, or not a freeware, but a payware one. This is confusing, but a payware version for freeware aircraft, by the way. So if anyone does fly freeware and you want a bit of extra realism, maybe go look at FSFO Lite. But yeah, FSFO is still on the same version, still works the same. I know there's been some talk of, we need to get rid of FSFO and just use something like TFM. Well, if that's your goal, then it's a perfectly okay goal to have. But just remember that none of these real world pilots fly a 737 with one pilot. They always have two,
Right.
and they always have someone else to do checklists and run through things whilst they're flying the aircraft.
What does the light version cover exactly? Just specifically the 737 freeware, or
it covers any freeware aircraft, and it's basically just so you can run checklists just like you can in PMDG, and it'll turn things on for you, like your battery, your lights. It can do your gear and flaps. It's a very light version of PMDG. But it's nice to have the checklist there to do kind of a realistic way of because in freeware that I found you could probably get a freeware plane powered up in about 2 minutes. If you were really quick, you could turn the battery on, hit Control E, and that's pretty much it. But FSFO Lite adds a bit more realism. It goes through the checklist. It does things that probably should be done with all your lights, and it does the walk around and yada yada yada. So it's kind of nice.
Notice that its freeware is when it starts up like that. When
Yeah.
it say engine 1, and generally they start with the second engine. Like PMDG, it doesn't start with the first engine. It starts with engine 2.
Yeah.
So,
I've had some people say when I'm flying freeware, you're flying PMDG? I'll say no, and they say, well, yes, you are. You got to run checklists. So, no, just remember, guys, there is actually a freeware one, so you can still use first officer.
yeah. Oh god. But guys, I don't know when our next one's going to be. It's going to be a minute, but remember what we said in the beginning when we started podcast. We want to bring you accurate information, and there's just really not been a lot happening. When new things occur, then we come on and we tell you about it. So if you don't hear from us for a month or a month and a half, we're still here. We're just doing the same thing that a lot of people are doing, with going to school or going to work. I'm doing both, and I don't know how I'm doing it, but I am. And Declan, he's busy just as much. College is a job itself. Seriously, it really is. Especially when you're full time, and Declan, I think he's full time.
Yeah, we moved down here. It's about a 3-hour drive. So it's been a project moving everything down here, and kind of starting over. And then just as you get settled down here, the term ends, and we got to move back up to home, 3 hours away again. So
it's assignments we can't. That's the other thing too, guys. It's like we can schedule what we're doing here. We can schedule, with the podcast, and we can schedule flying and all that. But what we can't reschedule or adjust is when we have an essay due, or there's quizzes due. If we don't do them when they're due, well, it's not good. It's not good. I mean, you got to do that stuff.
yeah, I'm sure hopefully over the Christmas period, as we get into December, hopefully things will start to calm down a bit. I know beginning of December is when mine starts to wind down, and hopefully by the middle of December we'll all be having a bit more of a break, and hopefully we can get at least one more podcast recorded. We might even do, I don't know, something like this Q&A. We might even do a shared cockpit flight again. Unfortunately, PMDG shared cockpit just doesn't work. It can't match the FMCs, so it would have to be freeware.
Okay, so this has been attempted, I'm guessing.
Yeah. We've tried to do it. It doesn't. Unfortunately, if you look it up online, it's like you can't. It's not. Join FS is not good enough, basically, with the shared cockpit to match the PMDG.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
And Join FS isn't up to much at the moment, anyway. In fact, I tried to do it the other day with Marshall here on shared cockpit for a freeware flight, and neither of us could see each other. So I don't know if he's broken it and shut it down or something. But we
Yeah,
could.
I mean that was on my old system. Some of you may know I've just had a new system. That was on my old system, so it was a tested system that worked, and I know Deck's done it on his PC time and time again. And it's just worked. So we're thinking there's a bigger issue here.
Yeah, I really hope he hasn't got rid of it, because it was a nice thing. Yeah.
I really hope that that's not the case, because there's a lot of potential with that program. And then this week, I don't know what day yet, but you guys can check out the BVI Pilots YouTube page. I'm going to be doing a review on another product that's coming in, and that's all I'm going to tell you, but that'll be fun too, checking that out. So,
oh yeah, that is something else we could say. I know, yeah, you were saying about your new thing, Johnny, and I know also Thrustmaster are bringing out a new yoke, Boeing yoke, because mainly they've done Airbus stuff. They have their Airbus pack, but they're actually bringing out a new yoke on Tuesday, I believe, or it's being announced. So for those of you who like that,
that's awesome.
Yeah, because they currently have their what they call the TCA pack, the Airbus, where you get the Airbus side stick replica and the throttles with your climb and toga detent, but now they're actually doing a yoke, and Thrustmaster are always been really good quality joysticks, so I hope their yoke is just as good. We will see.
Yeah, because I think the Airbus's throttles are sideways instead of being like, the normal up and down. I think they're a different direction, aren't they? I think
possibly. I couldn't tell you. I've never seen them, unfortunately. But I know they have the detents for the climb and the flex and the various sort of settings that you can put on that. And they make a little click as you slide them into the detents. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I like flying with the equipment. I've got the Honeycomb Alpha, and everything works on it. Now I didn't even have it that long, and one of the rocker panel switches on the right side of the handle and the yoke, the one that kind of clicked, you push it to the right, and it'd click back in the middle on its own. I think they were called rocker panel switches. Mm-hmm. Anyway, when I push it to the right, it doesn't do anything anymore. So I don't know, maybe there was a short in there or what the case might be, but it wasn't enough to where I couldn't use it no more, because I still use the yoke. I mean, it's pretty daggone accurate, to be honest. But so yeah, new equipment coming up this week. You guys can check that out as well.
Yeah, very cool.
Declan's got his YouTube channel. How do they find you on YouTube, Declan? What do they look for?
If you just search for Blind Flight Simmer on YouTube, you'll find it. There's probably not going to be a lot for the next few weeks, but there's a hell of a lot of streams on there from previously with vatsim and PMDG if you do enjoy. And I'm sure over the Christmas period we will do some more streams once I'm back at the home base.
Don't your channel go all the way back to...
oh gosh, yeah, mine goes all the way back to probably 2016.
It's your plane, right?
And it's your plane, even Eurofly 1 and all those good old days. There's all sorts.
Go back and watch some of that if you wanted. If you never
you could.
The older stuff, go check it out, because there's a lot of stuff over there.
So yeah, as always, you can contact us in the usual way, through the email. We'll put it in the description anyway. of the podcast. So if you really want it, go down there, because we're going to get confused between the old one and the new one. So we'll check it out and put it in there. But you can contact the WhatsApp group or the mailing list, the BVI Pilots Groups.io mailing list. You can join as well. And of course, we do have a Twitter as well, at BVI Pilots on Twitter, so you can follow us in private messages on there, again, if you want to.
Yep.
So there's all sorts of ways to get in contact. My personal email is blindflightsimmer44@gmail.com for flight simulated stuff anyway, so you can contact me there, and I can push anything onto the podcast as well. So, but check the description as well for links and emails from this episode.
Yeah, and so also real quick, to answer a question for someone. When you go to bvipilots.com, it's taking you to bvipilots.net. That's where it's going to stay. It's just easier that way. The new platform's easier to work with. So we're just going to point it to bvipilots.net and leave it that way unless something big happened where we had to change it. But otherwise, it's all going to be the same page, so it won't matter. You go to .com or .net, it's going to be the same thing.
Yes, yeah, that's a good point. Do remember that, because I've heard a lot of people saying recently, like, oh, I went to get the PMDG options files, and they're not working. Well, it's probably because you were on the wrong website. So, now you won't have this issue. But yeah, the .net one was always the one that was being updated for the past 6 months. So if you have the wrong files, then that's why.
I turned, and guys, just so you know, I turned it off for I got an email about the same thing. I think it was they couldn't get a file or something, so I turned off that domain so that we could get it pointed to the same place. That way, nobody's getting confused on which site is which. It's going to be the same. You'll be able to go to either site and it'll be the same thing, basically. So another day or two, and that'll be situated, and you won't have that problem. So.
Yeah, and if you don't have an account on there, bviparts.net or formerly .net, but it'll now be the same on .com as well. If you don't have an account there, you can sign up for one. You'll have to fill out a basic maths equation, I believe, to get into bviparts.net or now.com. So you will have to go through a few more steps, but it's pretty simple, and it will just confirm that you are indeed a relevant person and not a spam bot.
You've got all the spam. Yeah, because we got a lot of it through the .com.
Yeah, and once you have an account, you'll be able to write up articles, as always, and change things. But you'll also be able to, depending on your permissions, if you, for example, become a moderator or whatever, you'll be able to upload more files to the site. And we're also looking at creating a streamers page with all the popular blind pilot streamers. So. If you thinking you want to be added to that, then drop an email to one of us. To me, Rob Kip is also the guy who created the .net website, so you can also contact him. But yeah, just drop one of us a message, and when we do get around to creating a streamers page, we will add your URLs to that page so that people can find everyone who streams in one area.
Yeah, so, but at least now you guys know. I almost forgot to bring it up, but
yeah, good point.
Go. Again, if you guys got questions, don't just wait for a podcast to publish. Send us an email. We'll help you as much as we can. Even when we are busy, we'll at least try to respond to an email. Okay, so other than that, I ain't got nothing else. Everybody have a good day and have fun flying and simming and have fun. And don't take things personal.
Yes, don't take things personally. Have fun. Learn as you go. It's a learning hobby, and we will see you in the next podcast, whenever that may be.
Yep. See you guys later.
And with that, another BVI Pilots podcast has landed.